Today is March 2nd. I got back this morning. Last night I was in Pittsburgh to surprise Noah for the live announcement and got on a 6 a.m. flight this morning to come back so that I could watch Travis, Will, and the rest of the on-site athletes perform 18.2. It's kind of difficult to talk when you have music in your ear.
Well,
maybe if you had any experience doing this, you'd know that.
Oh, I don't. 10 seconds, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we're going to watch Travis do this workout. Unfortunately, he wasn't invited to the live stream like my other athlete, Noah.
So I go by myself here.
Yeah. Well, actually, technically
Will's in
and you could. This is a great illustration of why I'm a useless coach, because Travis is going at light speed in rounds 1 through 6. And
well, we can first discuss that you never gave me a pacing strategy to start with.
I think that is accurate. All right, I take responsibility for that. There was a guy who left a comment on your video last time that your open score wouldn't be anywhere near the qualification in one of the European regionals, so I wanted you to suck again. So he commented again about how bad you are at this.
That's okay. I didn't have to redo it 3 times like most of these people to get a score. Yeah. I can still do it one and done, still qualify.
All right. On a serious note, Travis is going way too fast. And
I realize that in hindsight.
I think we're in round 4 or 5. At some point, I think he's in round 7. I could tell that he was getting pale in the face and his breathing was out of control. And you could tell shit hit the fan. And I told him to take an extra break before he started squatting, but it was already too late because he's already finishing round 6, I think.
5, 6.
Yeah.
Finishing 6.
Yeah, so he's a minute 15 in. This is typical Travis fashion. I told him at the games during the run, swim, run, the one thing I didn't want him to do was lead the event.
I didn't.
And then 200 meters in, Travis is running
After
by
200 meters,
like Forrest Gump running, and he was in the lead. And then he cramped everywhere in that workout and the next workout.
Well, Jenny said, just keep running.
We're working on Travis's brain.
My brain works fine. My pacing doesn't always work as well as we hope.
Yeah, so there's really not much to see here. It's just.
So yeah, the 7th round is when it got real. Legs blew up, and it kind of went south very quickly.
What are you thinking? Anything?
Wow, my legs are heavy.
Yeah.
My legs just got lead. And Max's words, take a breath.
Yeah. I did tell him to take an extra breath. I think it was right there.
It was.
The Travis's legs and his burpee technique for the hop up, I've seen a lot of different kinds. So I think for people playing with that, whether it's a wide straddle stance, whether it's a short step and then a stutter step forward to a jump, whether you have a half rotation, all of those things can make you more efficient as you go. And I'm assuming after the 18.0 thing came out that people started practicing this hop technique so that it wasn't the first time you did it in a workout. But if it is, I'd spend some time practicing that before you actually do the workout. I think this is start of 9. This is start of 8?
Right?
No. You do 8, 9, and 10 in a minute?
Yeah,
No,
this
get
is
out
it.
of here.
9.
This is, yeah.
This is 9.
And you could see his squat speed is definitely not the same.
It still looks pretty
Yeah.
good. The burpees, not so much.
Yeah.
I'm
And
suffering.
posture, like those are the things you pay attention to. I don't think in the moment an athlete can feel that, but like where people's posture is, their respiration cadence, their skin tone. I've watched Travis work out way too many times. It's
I'm
really
usually pretty tan most of the time. but
unenjoyable.
A little pale right now.
Yeah.
Max is going to be doing the step-up version
Yeah.
when he decides to do this.
I'm going to do scaled. Is there a scaled option for burpees?
Yeah, you step up.
That's the only scale?
What other scales will there be?
I don't know. Maybe I could have boxed on both sides and put my hands to the box so I don't have to go all the way down.
Accurate.
All right.
Finishing.
Set of 10. This was a thrilling exhibition to watch of Travis by himself doing front squats and burpees. Although I do have to give him some credit that for athletes that red line when they blow up, to be able to put out a 418 or whatever it comes out to. I forgot. I think it's 418, right? This is your last one.
Or
419. To be able to do that when you are that redlined. Oh, I got a cameo. This is my job. I got to change weights at the open announcement, and I get to move dumbbells.
Yeah, not much changes.
Do we have to sit here and watch him flop around for 2 minutes before he starts lifting?
I lift in like 50 seconds.
They don't see on their screen, but I see on this screen that Will is hunched over.
And he's dying.
It looks like he's dying, although he's up a lot sooner than you.
He's back down though.
And
he's back down.
Yep.
Hey, but he saw me when I was up.
Yep. Will got up purposefully to
Just change his
exert
shoes.
his dominance over you.
You
Assert his dominance.
He should have asserted it before he watched me clean
Will
350.
putting his shoes on.
Travis belting up, getting ready.
Yeah. All right, so you guys are going to see an exhibition on flawless clean technique over the next 7 minutes. But really, I do, before he gets started cleaning, there is a movement in coaching about technical precision in lifting that should be pushed because there is a lot of just slop in general in CrossFit. But there's a difference, I think, between how people train and how they compete to try to get, here's a 225 power clean, that's his opener. Very uneventful. But now it's getting switched. Would you go up to 275?
275.
Yeah. The difference between what people do from a training perspective to maintain their movement quality so they can compete more frequently and the movement patterns they default to when they're going to near maximals under super high levels of fatigue. And you get criticism from the peanut gallery anytime you see shit like that. And instead of listening to that or giving credibility to people in the comments, unless you've coached people at the highest level of really any sport, you know that when people are going beyond their limits of capacity, here's 275, that was relatively easy power clean. You see things that you don't generally let an athlete get away with in training. But when somebody's competing, they got to figure out how to move the weight to get the score that they have to pay their bills. So they default to motor patterns that allow them to create the force production necessary to make the lift. So I'm preempting this. I think it was really just, this next power clean and then the last lift, I think, were the ones that got just a little sketchy. Yeah. Yeah. And Travis's major priority in training for the last, how long? 5 years have we worked together?
Yeah.
Has
Almost
been
6 years,
moving. Yeah. Travis, when we first started working together, moved like...
So what a lot of people did miss, though, was Will just failed a rep. But
yeah, but
you can't see. You can't see that.
He did beat you on the Metcon. So.
Yeah. I mean, he did lose on part 2.
What is this? 315? He tries to power clean this.
And ends up in a squat.
Yeah. That's not the prettiest of lifts. Not the worst I've seen, but I don't like to do that type of stuff in training. And he looked at me and said, all right, I'm going to squat now. Which I fucking couldn't tell that was gonna have to happen anyways.
Hey, power as much as I could.
No,
That
it's
was
good.
an extra 3 minutes of rest on the legs.
I needed the clarification because I thought that you were gonna keep power cleaning a weight that buried you.
Can you deadlift that?
No, not right now.
Okay.
What are you going up to?
332. 332 is what this was.
So then this is the transition to full clean.
Now I'm going into a full squat.
I think the biggest takeaway for this workout, especially for people that aren't going to finish in 4 minutes, is that the strategy part, you really don't have that much strategy in the Metcon. It's squat cadence, burpee cadence from the first 6 rounds versus 7, 8, 9, and how you're going to distribute your speed over that. But really it's kind of a workout that gets regulated by your own system. But for the cleans, I've already seen, I know me and Will talked about it before. I'll just let him do his clean first. Go ahead, Travis. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, not that bad. That right knee gets a little wonky sometimes, but that stood up pretty easily.
The next lift you're
considering.
about to witness is about to be
Yeah.
When you do your
flawless.
next one, will you count Mississippi's?
yeah.
Oh, how many? Yeah, for sure.
Also, Will again missed a weight that we should
To give Will's in the background listening to Travis make fun of him,
Winner,
who also
18.2.
Correct.
uh,
I won't say that on camera.
for regular people, if you're doing this workout between like 6 and 8 minutes, in order to put out your best aggregate score of 18.2 and 2A, you have to have an effective strategy for opener and your jumps, because depending on the level of fatigue and how you handle it and how your legs feel, being able to actually hit a lift is important. I know some people that we coach already have not gotten a score on 18.2A, which is obviously shitty. And yeah, no names. But that's probably the most important strategy thing that people should have. So you should have a ballpark figure of where you're going to be in time. All right, Travis, we're going to count. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4
Oh
Mississippi.
my God.
Yeah, that's 352 pounds. And now here's the dynamic of Travis and Max wrapped up in one little minute and 40-second window. Travis did that, and I said, I think you're good there. You should just stop, because I know that level of effort, you're not recovering from it in 90 seconds and going up in weight.
Could happen.
I've seen Travis lift a million times, and I knew it was going to happen. I knew that 352 was more than enough of a clean relative to where his score was, and Travis just blatantly was like, "Nah, I'm not listening," which is pretty much what happens.
A minute and a half left.
Yeah.
So
Well,
might as well try.
Look, the audience is going to see the beautiful and amazing attempt where you are really close to making this weight. So
I mean, that's good.
We'll see.
At least it wasn't 255 that I failed. But
I didn't fail 255.
I didn't either.
Were you? Do you have to tell your camera the
Yeah.
weight? Don't you have to show the weight anyway
At the end.
afterwards? Oh,
at the end, I show it.
that.
I more or less wanted to just hit this so I could really shut Max up, but it didn't go as planned, as
Yeah.
you're about to see.
Yeah.
It would have been
30
great.
seconds. By the way, 352 is still really impressive. And the fact that people have already cleaned a lot more than that is even more nuts. All
People
right.
are going to hit 400.
And not even close. The
It's
lesson,
accurate.
the
Accurate.
lesson, listen to your coaches, fellas. All right, that's the 12
Sometimes.
minutes. That's Travis's attempt at 18.2 and 2A, 419, 352. We decided to put it up there because it doesn't really matter. Just beat his score.
Yeah. Pew, pew, pew. Just relax.
I'm quitting. I don't like my job anymore.
What, because you're the weight man?
Yeah.
That's fine.
The first, we have an aggregate TTT score list where we put all of the TTT athletes in one place, and there's a relatively clear, I mean, there's a few people that are putting up good scores on both, but you see a relatively clear risk reward scenario going on with the first part of the Metcon. There's people that are hitting relatively big cleans, but then you look at their Metcon time and it looks like it's kind of an underperformance relative to what I would expect from that person in a squat endurance burpee capacity workout. And then other people who definitely exceeded expectations on the Metcon, but then were buried by the loading on the cleans. And I think you see that, even saw that with Noah in his live announcement performance. The faster you push the pace of the Metcon, the deeper into the suffering you get. It's almost exponential level of fatigue, so it's very difficult to be able to hit a quality lift. So there might be some gaming over time with regards to the leaderboard, or figuring out for yourself as scores start to play in, do you have the capacity on one of those scores to be able to put up a good one, and then in the other one you moderate your expectations and lower them so that you can play the strategy game on the leaderboard. Obviously, if you're one of the best in the world, you don't have to worry about and play that game, but there's only so many of them in this sport, and I think for most people that's going to be an important risk-reward discussion that they have to have. Two, so in the video that we did with Noah, which was the session video 5A, there was a very quantifiable mathematical model that we followed for his pacing structure. We put him on a 128 clock. I held him on those 128 rounds every round until I think it was his round 11 or 12 row where we started to deviate and push the pace farther and started his push. And it's a very easy workout to do that for. In this workout, it's much more difficult because the rep sequence is escalating. There's not that much transitional space. Like, everybody is basically putting the dumbbells in the same exact spot, like right next to the barbell, right up front. There's not much variation in terms of, like last week, where the rower was, where that dumbbell was relative to the pull-up bar. So most people's setups are going to be really close in this one. So there's not going to be marginal gains to be had from an elaborate setup, unless there's something that, we haven't thought about that somebody creative out there is going to do. I don't think that there's going to be any of that from a strategy perspective. The strategy here is really governed by effort, and the effort can be changed in a couple ways. Is basically speed of squat cycle and speed of burpee cadence, and then within those movements, are you going to take like little paused breaks? So in the set of 8 squats, for example, you might say, okay, do 4 at full speed, then stop at the top and take 2 full breaths. So that's not a time sequence pacing model. It's an effort-based pacing model. And I think in this sport, you have to have the ability to do both of those things. So I think as you're strategizing for this one, I wouldn't pay as much attention to split times and all of that, unless you're analyzing your first attempt and then you have somebody who is looking at your previous splits, just telling you if you are ahead of or behind pace so that you could pick it up. But you're not going to, sit down most likely and say, okay, you're going to, go and do round 1 in this time and then round 2 in this time. It's going to be much harder to do that. It still can be done, but I don't think you're going to get as much of a marginal increase in training performance on this workout specifically relative to 18.1. Number 3, this is an entirely different workout for regular people. Being able to do this Metcon in sub 5-6 minutes is probably not realistic for most people. So if you're finishing in 8 to 10 minutes, you're not really giving yourself the amount of time that would really be necessary to get any sort of recovery in your system, get your shoes changed. If you're going to use weightlifting shoes, get a belt on and hit a big lift. So again, the strategy and discussion is going to be different for regular people versus people that are at a competitive level in this sport. So take that into consideration if you are one of those people watching these videos, that a lot of the stuff that I'll talk about, with Trav in that video, or just in general, I haven't had a chance yet to watch Kyle and Brandon's initial thoughts video, but I'm sure a lot of the stuff that's in there might not be applicable to regular people because you got to go at a certain pace. Fourth, make sure you hit a lift. We've heard of some of our athletes not hitting a lift and opening too heavy. I feel like that's just a big mistake. I think what probably happened is somebody opened too heavy, and then instead of lowering the loading and making sure to get a number on the board and then trying to escalate back up, they were probably a little bit stubborn and wanted to make sure that they hit that number because in their head they had preset expectations about what they would do. And if you put a 0 up for a lift, your Metcon score is completely irrelevant, because if you're actually trying to be a competitor, having a huge score and 0 is literally going to keep you off the leaderboard. I mean, not literally, but it's going to keep you really far off the leaderboard. So make sure you hit a lift even if it's not where you want it to be, and then plan for a retest to actually crush it. But you want to have the option that you have a score, because you're going to have to play the leaderboard game as you're approaching Monday evening. If you have, say you did your first workout and you had a great Metcon score and a lower lift, not a 0, but a lower lift, and then you redo it, and for whatever reason on that day you didn't have the juice for the Metcon and you went low Metcon and higher lift, you need to see on the leaderboard statistically which one makes sense to pick, because you don't have the option of, well, I'm guaranteed to repeat my Metcon score and take my highest lift. So make sure on your first attempt you're actually putting a number on the board, so you have a fallback plan if your Monday reattempt or your Sunday reattempt or whenever you reattempt it doesn't go well. That leads me into point 5, don't set preset expectations. I have seen people with two same athletes, 365-pound clean, and then have completely different actual 1RM cleans in this workout structure. The fatigue's going to affect people differently. How they generate that force and what that specific fatigue profile does to that force production is something that you can't predict ahead of time. So for people to say, I want to hit this number, is like, it's almost worse to go in with that mentality. The better thing to do is set your opener, and then based on how you're feeling and how you're recovering, then start to make your jumps. And as you make your jumps, you can use the data that you have about where other people at your level are and say, okay, now that I know I'm within striking distance, I want to put this on the bar to have an opportunity to hit it. But if you have expectations that you're going to hit a certain number and then you get crushed or buried under something that's way under that, it's really hard to come back from that demoralized feeling that I didn't hit a number. Number 6, from what I've heard from people, Noah did it yesterday. I talked to him today and he said his legs really aren't sore. I'm not sure what the soreness profile is going to be after a workout like this. It's 55 squats in a relatively short period of time paired with burpees. So I would think that some people will get sore, but I also know that a lot of the elites have a much, much, much higher contraction volume tolerance than that. It's possible that soreness will not be that high and it will almost bait people into trying to redo the workout sooner, especially if they didn't hit the number that they want to hit. I would just approach that with caution, because you want to make sure that even if you have the ability to do the Metcon well, that you're going to have the juice to be able to hit a big PR. So even if you're not super sore, you might want to make sure that you're planning on just having one repeat of this. I talked to one of my athletes and we were thinking about changing the weekly layout this week to have them test on Friday today. And then after seeing it on Friday, knowing we're going to have to repeat it, I said maybe it makes sense to do a Sunday repeat, so that if it doesn't go well, you have the option on Monday. You might also want to consider doing it Monday morning and then Monday evening, but I haven't seen that many people that have that type of recoverability that they could do that in the morning, come back in the evening and have any shot of either matching the Metcon or the lift. So I'd have some sort of thought process that goes into how you're going to repeat or when you're going to set your schedule. Leading into the last point, the primary thing to evaluate for your repeats are, from my perspective, a soft strategy on an effort based in the Metcon. I think you probably can. I think the slower your Metcon time is, I guess the closer to 6+ minutes that you get, having a more time based Metcon pacing strategy makes sense, because you are going to have time to put the dumbbells down and take breaks, or take breaks within burpee sets. But the closer you get to 4 minutes, it's really just about effort and putting somebody's focus in the right place. So you will do a little bit of a quantifiable evaluation for your repeat if you are more on the slow end. If you're more on the competitive, faster end, I'd probably stick to a more focused cue strategy for your second attempt. The other thing, openers, so make sure that you know what you're going to open at. I don't think the opener is just to put a number on the board. It's also to start building momentum in your strength test. If you go in and you open and your first lift is like, oh, and it almost buries you, A, you've just compounded the fatigue from the Metcon, and B, you just got it in your head that a weight that's way under where you want to hit is heavy. And that's going to make it really hard to be confident as you approach your next barbell. So I would try to open light and get it done quickly so that you feel like, okay, I can handle this. So that way your brain can get used to going from the task you were just on into the new task. Have some sort of a plan for your jumps and a time sequence for the number of attempts. I've seen some people that have taken 7 attempts, and I've seen some people that have taken 3 attempts and ran out of time. How you respond to that fatigue and how you lift and how comfortable you are under fatigue grabbing a barbell that's heavy is going to dictate how many lifts you actually take. I think some people will be really successful in this type of a format, finishing the Metcon, laying down for 4 minutes and changing their attire, and then doing a really light opener into an opener and then taking 1 shot at a lift. That is obviously risky, but depending on just how you generate power and how you deal with fatigue, that might make sense. I've seen other athletes finish the Metcon, get their shoes changed, and take their opener a minute later and then lift on the minute and get 6 attempts. So obviously people are different. After doing your first attempt, you should know how you feel in that test and then use that to dictate, okay, I'm gonna finish the workout somewhere between, just say 5 minutes and 6 minutes. I'm going to lay down for 45 seconds and make sure somebody, my judge or whatever, tells me when I'm 45 seconds in. Then for the next 45 seconds or the next minute, I'm going to change my shoes, get my belt on, then I'm gonna take my opener at this. I plan to take my next lift by X period of time. So that way you have some sort of a strategy with how you're approaching trying to find a 1 rep max. Obviously plans don't always go according to plan, but I think it makes more sense to prepare and have that in your head so that you feel more confident to take on the challenge.